Today we will venture into the fascinating universe of ancient Egypt, discovering the unique customs of this ancient people. Customs of ancient Egypt. Number 1. The flies were so annoying that some pharaohs had slaves covered in honey at their disposal to keep these annoying animals away. Number 2. Although there was a certain equality between genders, women of the time were not free from some unpleasant customs of men. For example, when going by boat, it was not unusual for them to have to put up with men doing exhibitionism. Number 3. The ancient Egyptians had customs that seemed to be the opposite of the rest of the world. For example, they kneaded food with their feet, but handled clay and dung with their hands. Number 4. Egyptian contraceptives were uncomfortable and unhygienic. They believed they could avoid pregnancies by filling themselves with leaves and crocodile excrement. On the other hand, they were convinced that they could avoid pregnancy if they rubbed onion juice on their foreskin. Number 5. Some unscrupulous embalmers had no qualms about practicing necrophilia on the corpses of beautiful or powerful women. As a result, the norm arose of allowing women's bodies to decompose for 3 or 4 days before being embalmed. Number 6. As in those times survival was rare and valuable, since many children and mothers died during childbirth, the Egyptians used to keep images of protective gods such as Batet and other amulets to ward off evil spirits. Number 7. One of the curious customs of ancient Egypt is the care that the Egyptians took of their hair. Thus, the wealthiest citizens wore wigs, the poor grew their hair long, and the pharaoh never showed it and always wore a diadem. Number 8. Another of the most eschatological customs of ancient Egypt is their love for laxatives, which they took up to 3 times a month and which were considered to cure everything, even diarrhea. Number 9. Perhaps because of the heat in ancient Egypt, children did not wear any clothes until they were teenagers. Additionally, they wore their hair in a long ponytail to avoid lice. Number 10. Other curious customs of ancient Egypt, referring to mummification, are the fact that all the organs of the deceased were removed and kept in a jar, except for the heart, which was where the soul was believed to reside. Number 11. To determine the fertility of women, the Egyptians practiced some very unpleasant methods, such as asking them to insert an onion or a head of garlic into their vagina and smell their breath the next day. If they could smell garlic or onion, the woman was fertile. Number 12. Herodotus, the Greek chronicler, was responsible for starting one of the oldest hoaxes in history, that those who built the pyramids were slaves, when they were paid workers. Number 13. The salary of workers in ancient Egypt was most curious, a barrel of beer for each day of work. Number 14. The conditions of those times were, in some ways, so horrible and bathed in lack of culture that it was even believed that it was good to urinate blood, especially for men. It was believed that this was her menstruation. Number 15. Another of the best-known ancient Egyptian customs is the adoration that these people professed to their cats, but what you may not know is that they plucked their eyebrows to show their mourning when one of these animals died. Number 16. Surely, the Egyptians did not have a good day when they invented pillows, since they were made of stone. Number 17. Because the Egyptians valued life after death so much, one of the most deeply rooted ancient Egyptian customs involved building houses with perishable materials, such as clay, while eternal dwellings, such as tombs, were built with more durable materials. Durable. Number 18. The children did not receive a school education, although they were educated in the family, which transmitted its values to them and taught them to survive by imitating the tasks carried out by their elders. Number 19. In ancient Egypt, marriage was considered bureaucratic, a procedure to share strength and improve survival. For that reason, divorce was not something strange, nor was remarriage. Number 20. Another problem of infestation of unwanted animals was related to lice. There were so many that the ancient Egyptians were forced to wear a very peculiar hairstyle, shaving clean and, in some cases, wearing wigs. Number 21. The ancient Egyptian diet consisted of surprisingly many carbohydrates, such as wheat, plants, and very little meat and fish. Number 22. The Egyptians wore makeup and had a very curious relationship with it, since they considered it to have healing properties. Additionally, at first they used it as a sunscreen. Number 23. One of the best customs of ancient Egypt was to immortalize their doctors. Furthermore, Egyptian medicine was one of the most advanced medicines of the time, through art, since it was a very egalitarian culture. Number 24. The workers who built buildings, such as the pyramids of ancient Egypt, had a great sense of humor, as they signed their works with informal graffiti, such as the Benkhor Drunk Gang. Number 25. When doing other tasks, such as eating and relieving themselves, Egyptians used to eat outside on the street and go to the bathroom inside the house. Number 26. Ancient cultures, and not just the Egyptian one, did not live in a bubble, but very surprising commercial exchanges took place. For example, some blue glass beads that came from Egypt arrived in Denmark, while products from the north, such as amber, arrived in Egypt. Number 27. Another of the most surprising customs of ancient Egypt is the care that the gods, or in other words, their statues, received. An army of priests were in charge of offering them food, drink, gifts, and even clean clothes every day. Number 28. It was common in ancient Egyptian times to believe that the earth was flat and circular, and that the Nile ran right through the middle. This anthropocentric view of things is common in many cultures. Number 29. Due to a diet rich in fat and sumptuous and regular banquets, the pharaohs of ancient Egypt were very fat, something that has not been revealed through the murals in which they were painted. Number 30. During mummification, the brain of the deceased was removed by breaking the nasal septum and extracting it through the nose with a type of forceps. As you can see, the customs of ancient Egypt are fascinating and will definitely make you even more interested in this culture. Now join us as we look at 11 discoveries in Egypt that terrified the world. 11 discoveries in Egypt that terrified the world for centuries. Egypt has harbored many mysteries that many explorers have preferred to keep secret. Perhaps some of them would radically change our image of this ancient culture and show us its most sinister and disturbing side. Mysterious golden tongue, the real Egyptian giant, and a mummy with a truly terrifying gesture. Discover these and other Egyptian finds below. Number 11. The discovery of 3 huge ram heads near the Temple of Karnak has revealed valuable information to archaeologists about Egyptian art. Egyptian creations were often thought to be quite simple, with hard features and a high degree of abstraction that avoided excessive detail when depicting a figure. However, the discovery of these heads from the 12th dynasty allows us to glimpse further. This period, known as the Middle Kingdom, spanned from 2137 to 1781 BC. The Karnak Temple, where the excavation took place, was dedicated to the god Amun-Re, a central figure in ancient Egyptian religion, associated with the sun, wind, and fertility. It is possible that due to its importance, the temple was constantly expanding and remodeling. The discovered ram heads do not resemble any other construction or sculpture at this site. Experts suggest that they could have been created by the Ptolemies, members of the Macedonian dynasty of Greek civilization. This theory is supported by the military dominance that Greece exercised over Egypt for almost 300 years. The most surprising thing is that these heads are only the tip of the iceberg, since it is likely that they belonged to complete statues of rams modeled after ancient sphinxes. Unfortunately, the rest of the body of these rams has disappeared without a trace. There is still hope to find the bodies and reunite the heads with their complete figures, thus reconstructing the original appearance of the temple. Number 10. Canopic glasses. The mummification process of the Egyptians consisted of the extraction of the main organs and then carrying out a separate mummification process. Later, they were kept in special containers that were placed next to the mummy. We are referring to the canopic jars, a constant throughout the history of Egypt, and today they are a valuable source of information for archaeologists. They were usually closed with a flat slab since the discovery of the process, but at the beginning of the New Kingdom, the plug took the shape of the head of the deceased and of various animals. Centuries later, the head of these different vases protected the organ they contained. Additionally, it had representations of different deities. For example, Hapi had a human head and kept the liver, Msidi had a lid in the shape of a baboon's head and kept the lungs, Duamutef with a jackal-shaped lid contained the stomach. The containers were protected in a tomb by a titular goddess such as Isis, Nephthys, Selkis and Nephthys, and had to be oriented towards one of the cardinal points, as required by the ritual. In this ancient culture there was a belief that if they were not kept well, the deceased would not revive in the afterlife. Number 9. The Silver Pharaoh. In 1940, the Frenchman Pierre Monti made an unprecedented archaeological discovery that earned the recognition of the scientific community. What he found was the tomb of the ancient Egyptian pharaoh Susnepes I. The discovery occurred in the city of Tennis, where the crypt was almost intact. Susnepes first ruled from 1039 to 991 BC. His original name, Susenzai, means the star that appears in the beloved city of Ammon. His burial demonstrated great magnificence commensurate with his importance. In the tomb was not only the pharaoh, but also his wife, two other pharaohs before his reign, a prince and a priest. Looking at his sarcophagus, we will know that he was called the Silver Pharaoh. The outer sarcophagus was made of red granite, and the middle one was made of black granite, both of which had been reused or usurped. The mummy of Susnepes was inside a third coffin made of solid silver, something unusual in ancient Egypt, since having to be imported, it was a rarer and more valuable metal than gold. Additionally, the coffin had rich gold decoration, including a funerary mask. The entire outer shell was found surprisingly in very good condition. Its interior, on the other hand, was completely disintegrated, indicating that, despite the luxury, the best preparations were not made for the preservation of the body. Number 8. The golden-tongued mummies of Alexandria. Ancient history is being revealed in many places in Egypt these days. At the beginning of February 2021, the discovery of 16 burial chambers on the outskirts of Alexandria was announced. Two of the mummies found had golden tongues that, according to spokespersons for the Egyptian Ministry of Tourism and Antiquities, allowed them to speak with the afterlife. Number 7. Royal Giant. Sanecht was an Egyptian pharaoh of the 3rd dynasty of the Old Kingdom who ruled around 2650 BC. His remains were found in 1901 in a tomb near Beit Khalaf in Upper Egypt. The most striking thing about the discovery is that, after examining his skull and bones, it was determined that he was a giant. Did giants really exist on Earth? Investigations of the skeletal remains of Sanecht made it possible to find its probable size and compare it with the known data on the size of the average Egyptian from 4,700 years ago. Sanecht was at least 6 feet tall, while average Egyptian men were about 65 feet tall according to archaeological records. Sanecht was taller than any known Egyptian pharaoh before or after him. They also found a disproportion in the extremities. This would be a product of gigantism, a hormonal disease that causes abnormal and excessive growth in young children and is generally caused by a tumor in the pituitary gland. Number 6. The Screaming Mummy. It is a mummy with a particularly terrifying appearance, with its face distorted as if it were screaming in pain during its last moments. Another detail that caught attention is that it appeared wrapped in sheepskin, considered impure by the ancient Egyptians. It was also discovered that the hands and feet had been tied for some unknown reason. Several studies showed that the man had been embalmed quickly, without the usual removal of his brain and internal organs. It seemed that someone was in a hurry for burying him. It is believed that unknown man may have been poisoned or buried alive. There is a theory that suggests that he does not belong to Pentar, one of the sons of Ramses III, who was forced to ingest poison for having participated in a plot against his father. Number 5. The 250 rock-cut tombs of Al-Hamadiyya. In May 2021, an accidental discovery of 250 rock-cut tombs was made in the Al-Hamadiyya necropolis near the city of Sohar. These tombs span more than 2 millennia, from 2200 BC until the year 30 BC, during the Ptolemaic era. The tombs are small in size, and the objects found suggest that the deceased did not belong to a high social rank. Vases, ceramic fragments, human and animal bones, funerary plates, and small alabaster vessels were found. The most recent burials are believed to have occurred around 30 BC, coinciding with the end of the Ptolemaic period and the beginning of Roman control in Egypt. It is possible that those buried were officials and leaders of the city administration, playing a crucial role in administrative management. Number 4. The oldest brewery in the world. In February 2021, the ruins of the world's oldest brewery were discovered in Hierakonpolis, Egypt. The factory was about 5,000 years old, and it is estimated that it may have produced more than 22,000 liters of beer. About 40 terracotta basins were found used to cook the mixture of grains and water for the preparation of the drink. Archaeologist Matt Over suggests that beer may have been used in funerary rituals of early Egyptian kings, based on beer offerings found in previous royal tombs. Beer, which has been a popular drink throughout history, has possibly been present in all the cultures that developed along the African River. Number 3. The Lost Golden City in Luxor. On April 8, 2021, the Egyptian Ministry of Tourism and Antiquities announced the discovery in Luxor of a 3,000-year-old lost golden city. Betsy Brand, the professor of Egyptology at Johns Hopkins University, said the discovery of this lost city is the most important archaeological discovery since Tutankhamun's tomb. The ministry's announcement noted that it is the largest administrative and industrial settlement of the Egyptian Empire era on the western bank of Luxor, adding that it is the largest city ever found in Egypt. The archaeological mission discovered a buried city dating back to the reign of King Amenophis III and which continued to be used by King Tutankhamun, that is, 1,000 years ago, the official statement continues. The renowned archaeologist Seji Jagwas, leader of the mission, confirmed that it is the largest ancient city in Egypt. Streets flanked by houses, 3 royal palaces, a bakery, an administrative center, a sculpture workshop, and human remains have been found, something unusual. Betsy Brain added that the discovery will offer us a global and unusual vision of the life of the ancient Egyptians during the most lavish hours of the New Kingdom. Number 2. Shaving his eyebrows when his cats died. The ancient Egyptians had a close relationship with their cats and considered them sacred animals. Cats became an important element in daily life and Egyptian religion, so much so that a feline goddess called Batet, the protector of the home and family, was created and temples were built in her honor. Additionally, cats were prized for their ability to hunt mice and other pests, helping to keep homes and fields clean. The death of a cat was a very sad and painful event for the Egyptians, and the tradition of shaving their eyebrows was a way of showing their deep pain and respect for the life of their feline friend. The practice of shaving eyebrows also spread to other pets, such as dogs, although to a lesser extent. Today, this custom may seem strange or even extreme, but it is a testament to the love and respect that ancient Egyptians had for their animals and how they considered them an important part of their lives. Number 1. they sacrificed and mummified crocodiles. While archaeologists discovered the mummified remains of humans, they also found the bodies of crocodiles that were preserved, but not always in the same way as humans. For example, in 2019, while excavating the unaltered tomb at Kubbat el Hawa, a necropolis on the western bank of the Nile River, 10 reptiles were found to be mummified without resin or evisceration of the remains, which are two main components of the process of mummification. However, discovering fragments of mummified crocodiles, not just 10 well-preserved specimens, is not uncommon for researchers, and it is believed that ancient humans preserved the animals as sacred offerings, as food for the afterlife or for reincarnations of specific deities. Crocodiles in particular were associated with Sobek, the creator of the Nile and a powerful fertility god. Did you know any of these mysterious discoveries? Which one impacted you the most? Tell us your opinion in the comments section. Until next time.